Hello, the doc is in, and welcome back to another video chapter thing of Tokyo Revengers, chapter 255. In last chapter, basically we have Takemitchy realizing that Sanzu plans on running everyone over with a train. And so he has to explain to Kakucho, because obviously Kakucho's not going to believe him. He's going to believe him, but he's not going to just be like, oh, you're running away to save everyone, quote unquote, in the middle of a fight? Really? Come on. Do better, Takemitchy. You can't lie to me like that. And basically, Takemitchy somehow smooths it over with Kakucho, and they go to see Sanzu, who definitely is trying to run everybody over with a train. It's a very interesting moment. Very, very interesting time going on in the manga. But anyway, Kakucho and Takemitchy basically team up, and they plan on beating up Sanzu, because I think that's pretty logical. And that's about it. Let's start off the chapter. So chapter starts off with a small explanation of what did Takemitchy say to the Kakucho to get him to go check on Sanzu. And Takemitchy basically just tells the truth. He's just like, hey, everyone's gonna die. And Kakucho's like, explain. And Takemitchy is like, alright, Sanzu is trying to move the tracks, and he's gonna move a train and hit everybody with it. Obviously, I can imagine Kakucho's probably like, bro, this is a terrible excuse, but sure. And he goes over there, and as you saw in the last chapter, Kakucho was like, what? Takemitchy was spitting? How do you even know? And there's a little bit of back and forth between Takemitchy, Sanzu, and Kakucho. Kakucho's in shock because he's just like, how did Takemitchy know this? And Sanzu's basically just like, oh, why are y'all here? It's like, we're like way off the battlefield. What's the dealio? I mean, I know why I'm here. Why are you guys here? And so, after Sanzu kind of asks the question, and Kakucho's kind of shocked, he's kind of like, Takemitchy, how'd you even know about, this going on? It's like, I'm on Sanzu's team, and I didn't even know that Sanzu planned on hitting everybody with a train. And basically, he kind of he's like, oh, are you like a seer or something? And I was sure Takemitchy was it. It said he is way closer to the truth than he thinks he is, and that's kind of crazy. Which is kind of crazy. It's kind of weird how people throughout the story have kind of been like, oh, can Takemitchy see the future or something? Obviously, as kind of like a joke, because in their realm of possibilities, that doesn't even make sense. But in Takemitchy's mind, you're just like, oh, yeah, that's kind of true, but I'm not gonna say nothing. And basically, you kind of move on from that part of the conversation. It's awkward silence. And Sanzu basically is just like, well, I'm just gonna explain my evil plan because you guys aren't gonna stop me. And he's just like, since we picked the battlefield, I had pretty much come up with this plan. I'm gonna move the trucks, and I'm gonna run everybody over. And you know what? My plan was just about to go off. So, yeah. And basically, Kakucho's kind of like, I guess he tries to really good reason with Sanzu. He's kind of like, oh, if you go through with this plan, you're going to kind of kill everyone, not just Tomen members, but everybody. And Sanzu, being crazy, is basically like, I really don't care. If it's not if Mikey's the only one, as long as Mikey's the one who lives, I honestly could care less. I'm like, seems on brand. And then basically Sanzu, obviously not planning on having anybody stop him, he's like, alright, well, I'm gonna pull the sword, and he rushes. And I have no idea what Takemitchi's plan was, because very obviously Sanzu has pulled the katana, and Takemitchy is like, pull up, I ain't scared, I'll never be scared, we don't run from nothing. I'm like, Kakucho has to be over here like, Takemitchy, you understand he has a sword, he's just gonna slice you, you understand that, right? And Sanzu goes for a slice, of course, and he only cuts Kakucho a little bit on his arm, and Kakucho gets Takemitchy kind of out of the way. I don't know if Takemitchy maybe thought he was gonna dodge or something, but in my mind, I'm like, dang, Takemitchy was really about to just get cut. That was really gonna be the end of Tokyo Revengers, just stabbed, well, sliced. And so yeah, Kakucho gets sliced, and obviously Takemitchy's like, oh my god, your arm. I'm like, it's your fault that you got cut. Why didn't you move? I guess they gotta fight him anyway. It's not like they can run away, but still. but still. And basically Sansu's like, oh, I was trying to kill Takemitchy. Why? But I did kind of expect you to get in the way. So it's only you, Kakucho. And basically Takemichi's like, oh, like, I'm sorry, Kakucho. He goes Kakuchan. But he's like, oh, you saved my life. I'm like, you didn't think that you would get cut and probably die if he swung a sword at you while he rushed? I'm like, he didn't blitz you. Either here nor there. Ignoring Takemichi being kind of dumb right now. Basically, Kakucho kind of like confronts Sansu. And he's like, oh, you know, did you think Mucho was noise too? Because he kind of references earlier during Sansu explaining his plan and stuff. He kind of references everybody who's not Mikey as noise. And so he's kind of like trying to silence them, you know? And Kakucho kind of like points out like, oh, did you use that katana to kill Mucho? And Sansu in Takemichi's like, what? Kill Mucho? And Sansu's just like, well, he doesn't say yeah, but he kind of just looks at them like, if I did, so what? What you guys gonna do about it? And so, past the silence, Kakucho's kind of like, you know, I never really liked you. Even since the days of Tenjugu, you weren't really my boy. And Sansu basically is like, likewise, I don't like you either. And Kakucho takes up his jacket, and he's like, alright, let's go ham. And so the fight starts between Kakucho and Sansu, while Takemichi does nothing. I mean, truth be told, they could tag team him and get him, but neither here nor there, right? So Sansu goes for a slice, but what I kind of presume is that Kakucho used his jacket as either a way to like maneuver the katana without getting cut, or use it as a form of feint so that then he could kind of like get Sansu to kind of like slice before his body is in range to get hit. And then Kakucho then clocks Sansu. And from there we get some Kakucho flashback, which, I mean, I would never call this a death flag, but it's kind of a death flag. And so kind of we get Kakucho's like a little mini backstory. I mean, we kind of like understood it, but I guess we're getting like a dedicated version of like what he thinks about his backstory. And so he's basically like, you know, back in when I was in 3rd grade, but year 3 of elementary, they got into a car accident, him and his family, all his family members were killed except for him. He was the only survivor. And he's like, oh, you know, I got rid of my family name and I thought I could live alone. And we see cut back to the fight. Well, during the little flashback portions, we gotta like see him in his past, and then we cut back to the present, and Sansu's going for another slice, and he misses. Kakucho probably narrowly dodges it. And then as we go back into like Kakucho's mind and what he's thinking about, he's kind of like thinking about like how even though he wanted to live alone, you know, until he met Izana and Takemichi, you know, it kind of made him realize that he didn't have to be alone, kind of thing. And so though Izana's dead, he's like, okay, Takemichi, I will fight for you, which is good. He gets another head off on Sansu. And you know, Sansu's not a very strong fighter, but he's a psychopath, so he'll go to extra lengths to make sure you're dead. Versus Kakucho, who's physically strong just in general, and so is a little bit honorable with how he goes about like beating his enemies to a certain degree. But sadly, a psychopath will be a psychopath, and even though Kakucho was actually doing pretty well, all things considered, he gets sliced across his chest. Well, what it seems like he got sliced across his chest. I mean, Sansu throws a slice, and it doesn't look like Kakucho dodged this time around. And once again, Takemichi's kind of looking. I'm like, you know, you could like help. I mean, I guess there's like a certain aspect of like, you know, he has a sword and he's swinging it wildly, so you maybe, you know, when he was more likely to get cut by, you know, kind of making him focus on 2 different people. But still, I mean, help. But anyway, Kakucho kind of seems to have gotten sliced, and it seems like he's kind of committed himself to like dying because he said it wasn't such a bad life. I mean, we don't see the injury, we just see his face, so we kind of don't know, but he's sweating, and his face is giving I'm dying, but I'm okay with it, which is not the kind of look I would need from Kakucho right now. And that's the end of the chapter. There's not too much to discuss. Oh, first off, good chapter. not a bad chapter at all. There's not a lot to discuss in terms of Kakucho's backstory, in which we kind of got the gist of like what was going on with him from before. Like in Tenjuku, when we like probably got introduced to him for the first time, you kind of got a gist for like what his personality is, what happened to him, all that stuff. So though, you know, a little bit more elaboration and a little bit more perspective from him in terms of like what's going on with his backstory and stuff, it kind of doesn't change what I previously thought about him. He was a loner, and like everybody else in all these gangs, basically, you know, he went down the wrong path. He had a sad backstory, and here he is, but he's kind of strong. He's like has like kind of a good heart, but you know, led down the wrong path type of thing. And with Sanzu slicing him, I don't think he's gonna immediately go down, but if I had to take a guess for what's gonna happen next chapter, I think Kakucho, having gotten sliced, he might do like one last gambit. It's like maybe like clinch, or like grapple Sanzu to kind of like restrict him, and then I assume, hopefully, Takemitchy then decides to get in between this fight and take out Sanzu, or do something, or maybe get Sanzu's sword away from him or something, so that then, you know, Sanzu can no longer be a threat, so they can stop the train. I don't even think the train is running yet. I think he was about to get it moving. So if they stop Sanzu now, then that'll just be the end of the train thing. And outside of that, I mean, I'm kind of annoyed with the fact that Takemitchy didn't just help Kakucho in the fight. I'm sure they still would have gotten sliced, but I don't think Kakucho would be on death's door had Takemitchy decided to just help him during the fight. I mean, I don't know. I mean, hey, if I saw someone using a sword, I feel like I would have gone the Kakucho route. Especially if I was it was 2v1. Obviously, I wouldn't want anybody to get cut. I wouldn't want myself to get cut, but I also want my friend to get cut. So I'm obviously not going to let him go in alone. So that's just me, but neither here nor there. Hopefully Takemitchy makes up for it by taking out Sanzu and stopping this train from running everyone over. And that's about it for the chapter. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you disliked the video, leave a dislike. Comments. What do you guys think is going to happen coming up? Do you think that it's just going to be as simple as Takemitchy finally decides to help Kakucho beat Sanzu, and then they're able to take him out? Do you think train's going to get moving at all? Do you think Sanzu's going to get through his plan at some point? Like maybe they take him out and then he still gets the train off later on and maybe kills someone in particular. Who knows? But, you know, leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you're feeling generous and you like my channel, feel free to subscribe. And the doc is out. Peace.